You ever wonder what defines success on YouTube? You could be excused for thinking it's all about hard work, consistency, charisma, things like that. And yes, that is a factor. But you know what else is a big factor in determining it? Good old RNG. I recently stumbled upon a sword review channel that has been around for a very long time. In fact, joined about a month before I did back in 2006, and has put out a lot of content, very high quality content. So I figured, well, you should be getting like at least tens of thousands of views per video, right? No, a couple thousand each. And I thought to myself, well, now that is some bullshit. So here's a shout out to Matthew Jensen, linked in the description below. If you thought I'm hard on swords sometimes, you haven't seen his destructive tests. Oh boy, have you not seen his destructive tests. It's something else. He goes way further than I would ever want to. And that's a good thing, because destructive testing can tell you a bit more about a sword. You know, once you've broken the blade, you can look at the grain structure and things like that. So it's a worthwhile thing to do. It's just, and his reviews are very thorough. He goes into a lot of detail, shows you close-ups, tests them. You know, similar to how I do reviews, except more structured and less randomly scatterbrained than I tend to be. Yeah, it's a shame. You should definitely be getting more exposure. Criminally overlooked. Well, we should change that, in my opinion. Also, by the way, speaking of abusive testing and all of that, I actually found a historical source about testing swords on wood. You know, because that's something that people often take issue with, because, well, that's not what swords are designed for, and that's completely unreasonable. You can expect them to blah, 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 blah. But there is a Portuguese source from 1585 that mentions how they test swords on lumber. So even way back then, that was apparently a thing. Now, you can still take issue with it depending on how it's done. Because no matter how good the sword is, no matter how great the steel quality is and how perfect the heat treatment, all of this, if you hack into a solid piece of wood with poor edge alignment, and then it twists as it's stuck in there, it's going to damage the edge. Duh. They're not meant to just chop down a tree. So within reason, but as long as you pick the wood appropriately, you know, soft wood rather than hard wood, and you know, the thickness and size overall, etc., it can be perfectly legitimate, or it can be a horrible idea, depending on what you're doing exactly. You'll have to excuse me for jumping topic a little bit here, because otherwise the video would be very short, and I just feel the urge right now to tackle a few different things, go into a number of tangential directions, but all somewhat related. It's all about testing and reviewing swords. So a question that people have frequently asked is, what is the most serious injury that I've ever gotten while handling swords? It might surprise you to learn that nothing. I've never actually injured myself with swords during all the various tests I've done. The closest I've come is while testing an axe, well, a hurl bat, actually. This is more of a close call. It wasn't a serious injury, but it was sort of a funny one that I also happened to catch on video. So I tested a bunch of throws of this hurl bat into a wooden stump, walked over there, pulled it back out, had to wiggle it a little bit to get it out of the wood, and I underestimated how firmly stuck it was. I pulled pretty hard on it, and as I pulled it back, the point ended up in my knee. Not very deep, fortunately. This could have been way worse. So it was pretty light, but I kind of stabbed into it a little bit. And yeah, it wasn't a big deal, but that's the only thing I can think of. The most serious injury while doing anything weapon-related in general would be the torn ACL that I got back in early 2016 when we did dagger sparring, which involved some grappling. Wrestling can be pretty dangerous, particularly if you're not professionally trained. There's a lot that can go wrong. So that would be the worst accident that has anything to do with weapons and historical martial arts at all, but really no sword accidents to speak of. The final sword thing I want to mention is I've got some more reviews to do. I don't know when they're going to happen yet because I'm still waiting for targets. I finally managed to find affordable-ish tatami mats. Before what I ordered from Kult of Athena, when I actually sat down and calculated exactly what I'm spending per mat after shipping cost and tax, I basically fell off my chair almost because it turned out to be 44 Canadian dollars. Yes, I did not misspeak. 44 Canadian dollars per tatami mat. So now I found ones that cost only about 20 per mat, which is still stupidly expensive, but at least it's more justifiable. So I'm waiting for those currently. They didn't have them in stock. The website said they did, but they didn't actually. So they said like 8 weeks or so delayed. We'll see. So I might get them, I don't know, in February, something like that. I don't know if the weather will permit sword tests at that time. Anyway, so this is a shamshir from swordbuy.com. They sent this for review, and I'll be curious to see how it performs. It is very affordable. Some might say suspiciously so. There's always some concerns about the budget range, how it's going to do. But I'll find out how well it cuts and how well it holds up and all of that. Within reason. Again, I'm not going to try to chop down a tree with it. But in terms of handling, I like it. So far, it's not too heavy. It's handled just about how you would expect from a sword like this. It's more blade heavy, of course, because that's the idea. You want to deliver powerful cuts with it. The finish, not a fan of it so far, I have to say. There's nothing wrong about mirror polish per se. It's just the way it's done on this, doesn't have to matter. Again, we're talking budget range, and as long as it's good functionally, it's not really a problem. The fit seems to be quite good. So we'll figure that out. Also this yataghan, which they sent as well, that is going to be quite interesting to try out. Very different from most swords that I've tried so far. Quite a unique design. I've always liked this forward curvature, and the grip is quite interesting. So looking forward to that. Again, I don't know when that's going to happen yet because I'm waiting for material, and then we're going to have to see what winter does. Transporting swords and cutting materials back and forth and doing tests in the middle of a snowstorm is not something that I'm particularly fond of. So we'll see, but it's going to happen eventually. So stay tuned for that. And that's about it. Enough filler to make this video worthwhile at this point. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and have a good one, folks.